Welcome to Stray Compass Life, where the road is our home and the outdoors is our compass. In these videos, my wife and I travel across the country in search of the places that still feel untamed, the quiet trails, the hidden riverbanks, the windswept deserts, and the mountain backroads that call to adventurous souls. Along the way, we share the real moments of this lifestyle, the hikes that test your legs, the scenic drives that steal your breath, the wildlife encounters that remind you who truly belongs out here, and the simple peace that comes from stepping away from the noise of everyday life. This is travel, recreation, and outdoor adventure told through our eyes, with cameras in hand and hearts wide open to whatever the journey brings. Out here in Arizona, the word forest can fool people, because the Tonto National Forest is not always towering pines and deep shade. Not here. Not along the lower Salt and Verde rivers, where the Sonoran Desert owns the hillsides and the riparian tree line follows the water like a green ribbon stitched into the earth. This stretch along the Bush Scenic Byway is one of those rare places where everything collides: desert, river, rock, wildlife, and people. Hikers come here chasing quiet and views. Birders scan the treetops. Anglers work the banks. Paddlers drift through the bends of the river. In warmer months, the salt becomes a moving parade of tubes and laughter. And woven through it all, this land stays wild enough to remind you that nature doesn't exist to entertain us. It exists to be respected. Today, my wife and I returned to Coon Bluff Recreation Area for the second time, and we came with one mission in mind: eagles. We parked at the first pullout along the entry road and started hiking toward the top of the bluff. It didn't take long for the trail to begin asking for effort. The inclines get steep out here, and the footing is never guaranteed. I'll admit it, I was gassed on the climb, breathing hard and feeling the desert test me one step at a time. Meanwhile, my wife was far behind me like she always is, not because she can't keep up, but because she doesn't want to rush through a place like this. She walks slowly, stopping for every interesting rock, every plant, every texture and detail that most people miss. She hikes like the desert is telling stories, and she's determined to hear every word. This morning, the desert had new stories to tell. There were the first hints of spring scattered along the trail, little blooms emerging like shy sparks against the muted earth. Some were bluebonnet-like, just beginning to pop, the kind that make you pause because you weren't expecting softness out here yet. The small orange flowers that had been showing for over a week were still going strong, and yellows seemed to be everywhere, bright little bursts of color that made the landscape feel alive in a way only the desert can. Above us, the sky was clean and wide, a clear blue with only high wispy clouds streaked thin across it like brushstrokes. The sun was rising as we climbed, and that early light made the rock faces glow and the ridgelines feel more dramatic, like the whole world was waking up on purpose just for those who arrived early enough to see it. Near the top, we noticed signs that we weren't alone on that ridge. There were fresh hoofprints pressed into the trail and dung nearby, clear evidence that a horse had passed through recently. Out here, that kind of detail always matters. It's a reminder that we're visitors, and the wilderness has its own daily routines that continue whether we're here or not. We took a longer route than last time, working our way toward the cliff face of the bluff, a place where eagles occasionally rest. There are nests in the vicinity, but none right where we planned to sit and wait. Still, we had hope, especially because I had photographed an eagle about a week earlier not far from this general area. When we reached the top, the wind was strong enough to feel like a living thing. Gusts pressed against us as we settled in and watched the world. My wife had the binoculars today. Across the river, in an old dead tree, I could see what looked like a white dot, something so far away it was almost impossible to be sure of. It was near the area where I'd had success before, and that alone was enough to make my mind lean toward possibility. She scanned carefully and told me there was no eagle in the tree, and for a moment we accepted that answer. But I wasn't ready to let that white dot go without proof, so I raised my Canon R5 with the 800mm lens and snapped long-distance shots, planning to check later on the computer. Sometimes, the camera becomes the second set of eyes we need when the world is too far away and too bright for certainty. We sat up there for over an hour, wind pressing against us, waiting for life to rise into the sky. The longer we stayed, the more it felt like the gusts were keeping the birds grounded. Eagles are powerful, but they're also smart, and strong wind can make even the boldest flight a waste of energy. Eventually, we decided it was time to head back. The trail is an in and out, meaning the ridge you conquer on the way up is the ridge you must cross again on the way down. As we made our way back toward the Jeep, I held off on filming again until we reached the final stretch of the hike, where the trail drops sharply down a steep incline toward the parking lot. That hillside is covered in countless small stones, all shapes and sizes, and the descent is slow and hazardous. Every step requires attention. Every foot placement is a small decision, the kind of terrain where one careless move can quickly become a hard lesson. At one point, my wife wanted to take a different route than me, 2 ways to reach the same bottom. I started down the steepest grade with my Osmo 360 camera in hand and running, moving carefully as I picked my way through the loose rock. And then, just when I was focused on nothing but balance and footing, the desert delivered a moment I didn't expect. Off to my left, I caught motion in the sky and instantly realized what it was: an eagle and an osprey locked in aerial combat. It happened fast, the kind of moment that makes your heart jump, because you know you're watching something rare. I shoved the 360 camera between my knees and grabbed for my R5, but with the steep incline under my feet and the rush to power on, focus, and frame, I was too late. The moment passed before I could catch it through the long lens. But later, I discovered the morning had been holding its truth quietly the whole time. When I checked the photo of that dead tree on the computer, there they were. Not one eagle, but 2 perched together in the branches. Evidently, my wife had been glassing the wrong tree, and the eagles had been there all along, watching us while we questioned our own eyes. It felt almost fitting, like a lesson the desert loves to teach. Sometimes the wild doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it simply waits for you to look again. From here on out, we're going to let the music carry the rest of the hike and let you simply experience the scenery. The desert, the river, the wind, the climb, and the descent. All the quiet beauty that doesn't need explanation, only attention. And as you watch, keep your eyes on the sky near the end of the film, because you'll catch it there. An eagle and an osprey locked in aerial combat. A final reminder that the wild always saves something for those who stay until the last moment.